Hello, everyone. In this example, I want to show you how you can take a form response and break it into multiple rows. It's a very common problem that all of us face, especially when we're working with Google Forms with multi-select questions. Let's look at the problem that we have. So we are doing a survey with a bunch of different employees. The problem is that we have asked a multi-select question. The first question is, what trainings will they prefer to attend in the next quarter? And the second question is, where would they prefer to work from? Home, office, or remote? Now, there are 4 different types of training: selling skills, Excel, PowerPoint, and leadership. And the users can decide any combination of these. For example, Sakshi has selected selling skills, Excel, PowerPoint, leadership. Abhishek has selected Excel and PowerPoint. In the second question, Sakshi has selected all the 3 options: office, remote, and home. But there are other employees who have selected either office or remote and home or any other combination. Now, if we try to answer a very simple question, how many of these employees want to attend an Excel training? It is not really that easy, right? How do you come to that analysis? So we'll take the data, and on the data tab, we will first convert it into a table. We need to do that because we need to analyze this in Power Query. Let me do that. Click on OK. Excellent. So we have the data in Power Query now. Since we do not have the employee numbers, I will go to add column and add an index column starting from 1. So we get that index column at the end. Let me bring it in the front by dragging it. And now this current table or query that we have should only show me one question. So we will right click and duplicate. And what we will do is that on the first one, I'm going to delete the last column that we have, which is the second question. And on the second query, we will delete the first question, which is the one related to the trainings. Seems okay. And now let me create another duplicate query. And in this one, we just want to keep the index and the respondent. So let me remove both the questions. So now we already have index and respondent. Now, if you think about it, in the first table, there is no harm in keeping index and respondent. But from the rule of normalization, it doesn't make any sense because they are all mapped with each other. One index can only be for one respondent. Hence, we don't need the respondent at all. So let me remove this. And the same thing we will do in table 2 as well. We will remove this as well. Excellent. So table 1 is question 1. Let me call this Q1. Then table 1, 2 is question 2. So let me rename that. And finally, this is nothing but the employee names. Let's call it employee names. Now on question number 1, we want to split the data as per the delimiter, which is a comma followed by a space. But we don't want to split it into columns because that is not really going to give us the output in a way that we want. Sure, you can split it into columns and then maybe do an unpivot. But the benefit of Power Query is that there is an easier way of doing this. Let's watch. Simply right click and we want to split column by delimiter. But in this dialog box, we will go to advanced option and split it into rows. And remember, the delimiter here should be a custom delimiter, which is a comma followed by a space. We click on OK. And as you can see, you get the result. So you notice that index 1 is coming 4 times because that particular employee has requested for 4 trainings. Employee number 2 has requested for 3 trainings, and so on and so forth. We'll do the same thing with the second question as well. So right click, split by delimiter, custom, comma followed by a space, advanced options, rows, and OK. And there we go. Employee names remains how it is. We don't really need to change that. And now I can close and load. Now remember, there are 3 tables or 3 queries that we created. So there are 3 sheets that are going to get created here: Q1, Q2, and employee names. Now I will just select the first sheet, which is for question 1, and we will go to insert, pivot table. But I will make sure to select this option called add this data to the data model. Click on OK. And now you notice that on the right side, there is an option called active and there's an option called all. And in all, you see that we have all the tables that we had. Right. So what do we want to do now? I want to go to employee names and we will select the respondent name. Then we will go to Q1 and we want to select the question and keep it in the values. But there's something wrong, right? The result doesn't seem correct, perhaps. And also there is some prompt that comes here. So let me go to Power Pivot, go to Manage. We will go to the diagram view and we will ensure that there is a connection between all the 3 tables that we have. And I can only see 2 tables right now. So let me just make sure that the second question has been added to the data model as well. So we'll add it to the data model. And now when I go back to diagram view, this looks a lot better. Let's keep the employee names here. And now I can select index with index. It creates a one-to-many relationship. That means that each employee index number is coming multiple times in Q1. Same thing here as well. Like this, one-to-many. Now we'll close this window. Go back to my pivot table and see what's happening. Now it tells me that these are the number of responses that they are giving, which means Abhishek is giving 2 responses. Let's go and verify that. So if you look at Abhishek, Abhishek is giving 2 responses. But then it doesn't still tell me what response it is, right? We would want to know what training Abhishek wants to attend, not just the fact that Abhishek wants to attend 2 trainings. So we can also select the question and I'll put it in the columns. And this is what we wanted, isn't it? What it is doing for us now is that it's giving us a clear table, which is a checklist, which tells me that these are the people who want to attend Excel versus leadership versus PowerPoint versus selling skills. Now, if you think about it, could you have done this by a text to columns? Not really. And you know why? Because if you do this with a text to columns, why don't I show it to you? So if I copy it and I come here and I go to data and text to column, we'll choose our delimiter as a comma followed by a space. Do you see what happens? Yes, it is splitting it, but then the order is all haywire. For example, Excel is not in the second position, it is in the first position. So this doesn't really enable you to be able to get the result that we want, which is like this. Sure, you could have done some manual work, maybe a COUNTIF and things like that, but then this would not have been possible. Also, there are different ways in which you can present the data. For example, if I put the question in the rows below the respondent, this also is a very clean way of presenting. We have the name of the employee and we have the 2 trainings they're asking for. If I go to pivot table analyze and I select pivot table design, and we select report layout and tabular form, then it shows me the data like this. It's a very clean list. We have a list of employees. Let me also repeat the item labels. So we have a list of employees. We have the trainings that they want to attend like this. In fact, we don't even need the count because one training will only come one time. So there you go. Such a clean way of presenting the data, everyone. Yes, took a little bit of effort, Power Query and Power Pivot. But once you learn how to do it, it will just take you a few minutes to do it.